All right. Hello, Andrea. Thank you for coming. And let's pick up where we left off before,
Okay.
which is the relationship, right? This is. I think this is your
Mm-hmm.
area of expertise. I think so. Go ahead, take it from there. Relationship is the most important thing that we can we can build
Yeah.
with the
Okay. So
kid,
we're
right?
talking about parent-child relationship. Okay. So yes, the
Yes.
most important
Yes.
thing that you can do with your child is connection, because a lot of the time what I talk about, kind of one of my biggest strengths, I will say, is that I am able to have high expectations within the context of like a high quality relationship. And so that's kind of like the sweet spot that you want to find and like figure out where that is for you, is to be able to expect your children to do, a lot of things for you. Um, but then also within that context of that relationship, yeah, raise the
Raise
bar
the
for
bar.
them. And so like today, like I took my three kids to this, I guess it could be called like a, that's not really a theme park, but it's like this theme attraction where it's like it goes back in like to the 1800s, and so like they're churning milk. And so like it's just the three kids and me, and my dad came with us and stuff, but like we didn't have any behavioral problems. I was able to like say, again, they're getting a little loud sometimes, and I was like, hey, like I got down to their level, because that's huge, like getting down to their level, bending down and being like, hey, is this how I expect you guys to behave? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, let's change that up, and let's behave like we're going to be quiet, we're going to be respectful, we're going to be kind to people, and we're going to, we're not going to act a fool. And because there's these other kids, and they were like, there's like a weeping willow tree, and they were pulling down the branches from the weeping willow tree, and the mom was just letting them. And I'm like, what are, like, this is not your property. And so I was beside myself. But so it's like having that relationship. So I think a few big things are, whenever you're having like a deep conversation with your child, or trying to give them some kind of correction, trying to reduce the power differential as much as you possibly can by squatting down and getting on to their level. That just makes them feel less intimidated. And you're not trying to necessarily like reprimand them or like put them in their place. You just want them to hear you, and they're more likely to hear you if they're on the same level as you. You're closer to their ears, those kind of things. And then always just being there and meeting. I think the other big thing is consistency. So you want to be consistent, because you can't really form what's called an attachment with people like when someone is inconsistent. I always say that it's better to be like consistently like a jerk than it is to be like inconsistently like warm, because like they never know what they're going to get. They're like like I don't know. Like, so it's much better to be consistent and be reliable for your children, compared to inconsistent all of the time, because they don't know what they're going to get. And like, who likes that? No, like humans love consistency. Like that's why you get pissed off when you go to, like if
Yeah.
you go to a fast, like a chain restaurant, right? One of the beauties of going to a chain restaurant is that whatever you get at that chain restaurant should be that way no matter where you're at.
Con-
Because
consistently crappy.
unless it's Chick-fil-A, then it's consistently delicious.
No, no, I know they've done the experiments. I think I did take some
Mm-hmm.
psychology. I was always interested in that, and I think they did the experiment with the elevator, where if the elevator was consistently slow,
Mm-hmm.
they could
Yeah.
measure exactly the time it was coming. The people would complain less, as opposed to when it one time it comes fast, one time then the report that people give
Mm-hmm.
is much it's better
Right. And I
for the
think that's, I
consistent
mean, I
elevator.
think consistency is super hard for any human, but I think the big thing is, it's like it's a cornerstone of parenting. It's a cornerstone of just being a human. The more consistent you can be in life, the better off it will be for you and your life.
Yeah, but I think, but let me again, so let me take a little bit of a devil's advocate point of view. But I think, isn't it important to also question, always have an open mind and question, and and if you feel like you made a mistake, maybe you should change the course of your behavior, thereby being a little bit inconsistent. What do you think
Um,
about that?
I think if your behavior is not working for, stop, go to daddy, go to daddy.
There we
Consistency
go,
at work.
consistency at work.
Uh, I told them that I was going to be doing this, and oh my goodness, um,
They can participate. They can. You know what? One day I'm gonna have my
they
kids participate
are
too.
they are
That'll be
naked,
awesome,
so no.
right?
And I don't put my kids on social
Oh,
media anyways.
uh-oh. Gotcha, gotcha.
So yeah. Oh. Um. But okay. So what was your question again, Dimitri? Because I could see them coming down the stairs.
No, right. Yeah, no, I was just saying that if you make a mistake, you should, because sometimes you're so hung up on
Hmm.
consistency, which is, I agree with you, but I can picture a scenario where you're thinking, listen, I told you we're gonna do it this way, and you're so inflexible, and maybe you realize that you did something wrong, or you have a better path, but maybe you making yourself the excuse of the consistency, under the excuse of the consistency, maybe you're being inflexible, and maybe you should be a little bit inconsistent when you realize that you should change
Yeah,
something,
I mean,
or
if
not. I don't know.
something's not working for you, absolutely change it. I don't want people to be like consistently like neglectful and abusive either, just in the sake of being consistent. So if something's, I think that's the question that I always ask clients. Hold on one second. Chloe, I need you to go ask daddy. If you need something, ask daddy. What is it? Daddy's in the garage. Um, I think it's being able to, like you said, like be flexible and be able to change things up. If it's not, because that's a question that I always ask my clients, like, is this working for you? You think it's working for you. If it's not, then change it up. I remember I was having a conversation with one of my clients recently, and usually I stay far away from like substance use. They're like substance use unless it really is like the problem. And like for this particular client, like it is the major problem for them. And so I looked at them, I'm like, is your substance use working for you? And he like tried to convince me that it's not. And then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I can give you like four reasons why it is not working for you. And so like he's consistent, like he uses drugs every single day, but that's not working for him. So he needs to change something up.
Okay, okay, all right. So let's
Okay.
get back to the relationship part, right? So you said
Mm-hmm.
getting down on their level, literally, right? Being consistent.
Um,
What
so
else?
it goes back to, let's see, I just keep seeing my children walking around. Um, I think the
No
other
worries.
big thing that a lot of parents struggle with is the quality, like is quality time. So like they always think that when their child is wanting to spend time with them, it's a matter of, oh, I have to spend this, this hour with them now, and I don't have an hour to give them. And I always tell parents like it's quality over quantity. Like I would much rather you spend 5 to 10 minutes of high quality time with your child than like 2 hours in the car transporting them from one sport to another where they're just like staring at their screen the whole time.
Well, I would say we should try to get him away from the
I
screens at all costs. And I'm not. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of not.
mhm.
I that's been my belief from the start, with my older children and with especially with my younger children. I'm still guilty of giving the phone, and I always have some kind of excuse, and
Mhm.
I always end up regretting it. It's
I
a
would
drug.
agree. Like, so
It's
we
terrible.
try, like, we have very, because I think that also dings, like, I think the screen, it's very easy for the screen to ding your relationship because I see so many issues surrounding
That's right.
the phone, and it doesn't matter how old your child is. So, like, we have created very, very consistent, like, laid out in advance ways that they can earn screen time. So, like, when they go to bed, if they go to bed without any issues or anything like that, then the next morning they get like one episode. And then so like we've revolved it kind of around where they have to earn like screen time, because then then it's very like, and then like, oh, they want PBS kid app time. Okay, well, you have to help me clean the living room. Once the living room's clean, then each of you guys can have 10 minutes of PBS kid time, and then they all share, so then they get, it ends up that they get 30 minutes, but they figured out the system. So, and I'm not gonna, you know, that's not the point. And so I think it's like coming up with very specific rules of when you are going to give this your child the screen versus not give them the screen, because it just causes so many problems, like in like relationship behaviors, all of those
Right.
things.
Well, I like what you said about how it's
Mm-hmm.
it's taking away from the relationship, and I think what's happening is that we take the easy way out. We outsource the education of our kids, which is sometimes it's not our fault
Mm-hmm.
because we got to work. But sometimes we make an excuse. We're saying, "Oh, I'm doing," like you said, you're
Yeah.
taking your kid to all these activities, right? And you're saying, "I'm such a good parent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all this for you," right? But if you're honest with yourself, uh, maybe you could have done half of those
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
activities by yourself with the kid. But if you're honest, maybe you're a little lazy. And with the phone, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy behavior management.
Yeah, because
Easy.
then they're
Just give the
quiet
phone.
and
That's it.
they don't
But
ask you for
but you
anything,
are
and they're silent
right.
and they're zombied.
Right.
But then you try to ask them to do anything,
Right. But
and
I
then
think we
like you
have
ask them to
to.
do anything, like, hey, take out the trash, and it's like nothing.
Right. But not even that. But just we think it's a time. It's a waste. It's a time that we have not taken
Mm-hmm.
advantage of. You are with your kid, and instead of taking
Mm-hmm.
advantage of like every second that you should be doing it,
Yeah.
building that relationship, you are what? You're creating
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with the phone. And there's nothing more valuable for the
Right.
kid than
Mm-hmm.
relationship with you,
Yeah.
with a human being, with a parent, right? And but sometimes it's not easy. So like what you know, but you have to sort of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Sometimes you love the kid and great and it's all good, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you literally have to embrace the suck and say, listen, no phone. It's not just a punishment for me. It's going to be a little bit of punishment
Mm-hmm.
for not only for you but for me too. And
Right.
I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Eh,
And so what are your suggestions? Do you have any hacks, any games, any tricks? Because maybe some people now with all the phone and all the technology, people maybe they are struggling. Maybe they forgot what they can
I
actually
mean,
do
I
with the kids.
think the first thing that comes into play is that like we as the parents need to be willing to put the phones down. Like that's, and to go back to
Agreed.
and
Right.
realizing and recognizing the value that having like interpersonal connection, talking with your child has. I think we all just want to be glued to our screens, and we just we don't want to necessarily put in the time and the effort to parent. Um, And so I think we get caught in these traps. And so I think the first thing is like we have to be willing to put down the phone and recognize that like we're not going to get what we actually need within like this little, 3 inch, or it's, I guess it's bigger than 3 inches, like 6 inch box. We need to put it down. But I think like going back to basics, like board games, like this game behind me right here. Have you ever played it? Like, don't step in it. It's hilarious. It's like this little Play-Doh poop, and you
No.
wear a blindfold, and there's Play-Doh poops on the thing, and you spin yourself around, and then you have to try to walk across the thing in the minefield of Play-Doh poops without stepping on one of the poops. You're like, no.
Uh-huh. Awesome.